The college football experience week 12 DFS show on the Sports Gambling Podcast Networks presented by WynnBET. WynnBET's now live in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Tennessee, and Virginia. From boosted same-game parlays to live in-game odds, WynnBET is what you need to win. Sign up today, bet $100, get a $100 free bet at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WynnBET. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET to claim your free bet today. We're also brought to you by the SGPN World Cup Free Roll. We're giving away $250 cash and a $250 gift card to the winner. Enter today exclusively on the SGPN app for free, which you can download for free in the App Store or Google Play Store. So grab that thing today. And folks, remember to let it ride.
This is Jim Mora, and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Welcome to the college football experience, week 12 DFS preview and picks. Yes. My name is Colby Swinging Database Dad, a.k.a. Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
I smoke and I drink and I don't have stress and I'm healthy.
Not many more weeks left of this. We got bowl games. Bowl games will be even more challenging because there'll all be backups playing. But
weekday DFS in college football is tricky enough because there's a lot of scratches that aren't really publicized beforehand. Good thing about bowl games that usually we know who's sitting, but still it's a crapshoot because if there's so many players not playing, coaches not playing, et cetera, et cetera. But it's still fun.
Yeah. And if you're wondering who the hell that is the DFS god himself. Give it up for the rooftop IPA drinking, homebrew making, Tobacco Road living, the free lock giving farmer. Earned the Basketball League MVP. Give it up for NC Nick in the place to be.
There we go. What's going on, man?
I mean, first off, we're inviting people to come play DFS. We tweet it out every day at TCE on SGPN. Come play, or NC Nick's on Twitter at NC__NICK.
College football and college basketball. I know college football season is winding down. Well, college basketball is just warming up. So feel free to play and, take on us both in both sports.
Yes. And look, I'm not sure what slate it was last week, but I had a quarterback not play, which cost me because the rest of my team was amazing.
Who was the quarterback?
I'm trying to think. I remember last week I was looking at this.
One of the action games, maybe? Was that what it was?
No, I think it was a Saturday game because I remember looking. Remember, I played Jalen Polk for Washington and Michael Penix. Penix obviously threw for over 400 yards and had a QB rating of 94.
Wow.
And Polk had I think 100 yards and a touchdown. But who else on the night slate would have?
Well, in the night slate, you came in second place. So
I thought I didn't have my. So one of them on Saturday. Oh, it was KJ Jefferson. You talked me in. You talked me in on this very show to playing KJ Jefferson, and he did not play. And they didn't even report that until like 10 minutes before kickoff.
I wish college football would be a little bit more like NFL in that regard, where you should know who's playing for DFS wise and for just gambling wise too. It always sucks when you're pretty much the whole slate is ruined because, especially at the quarterback position, like you get a goose egg there, good luck trying to win any money. But let's quickly recap this week, hopefully, or last week. This week, hopefully you don't roster any quarterbacks that don't play. But we'll start with last night. I won the showdown competition, the SMU Tulane game. Let's see here. The Maction Wednesday night, Jabari Smith fan. He took home the crown there. And R.R. Bowl Jr. took home the Tuesday night Maction. Going back to last weekend, Friday night. Now, you won the Friday night. You came in second, and Alan Cooley came in first. That's the one that you were in the money. The Saturday main slate, DTF 04021. Jabari Smith fan came in second, and Saturday night, Jamie won, and Anthony Tesla came in second. There you go.
I'm trying to find the lineup I had with the quarterback that was out because it was incredibly frustrating because I remember looking at the rest of my team.
That was a day game, right?
I think so, because that was a 9:00 kick on the West, right?
Right. So hold on. I have so many like old contests.
Yeah,
here
I'm in so many that I can't find it either. But
quickly scroll through. All right, let me pull it up. Let me pull it up here. All right. So you finished that slate in fourth
with no quarterback.
With the goose egg. So yeah. You had Payne Durham, the tight end for Purdue, crushed
that's
it
who
for
it was
you.
too. Yeah, that's who it was. And then
7
Hooker
for 72 touchdowns. Hooker had a very nice game. You also had a good game out of Chase Brown doing his usual. So yeah, I mean, if you would have got like an average amount of points, say 20, you would have easily won the main slate last Saturday. So
and you talked me out of who was I going with instead of Jefferson? I feel like I was going
Pratt.
Was it Holton Ahlers? No, that was Friday.
It might have been Pratt.
Might have been Pratt, but I mean, I don't think he did great, but he did obviously more points than zero.
Yeah.
But was it Pratt? Might have been Pratt. Might have been right. I don't know.
Well, it doesn't matter. There's no use crying over spilled milk.
Oh, I like to, you know me, I like to cry and bitch about, all that's wrong in the world.
You came in the money Friday night, so, the weekend wasn't all a wash. You had some success.
Yeah, I'm just mad when it's like the Thursday night that I started. Well, this one was brutal for everybody, I feel like. The Thursday night a couple of weeks ago when Cameron Rising, everyone played Cameron Rising.
Right.
It's like they didn't even release anything. He wasn't even questionable. They just said, all of a sudden you see the first snap of the game, and you're like, that's not Cameron Rising.
I love when you see a tweet like 5 minutes after the kickoff. It's like, oh, Cameron Rising in street clothes tonight. I'm like, great. That information would have been fantastic to know a half hour ago.
Yeah, I mean, unbelievable that we don't get that.
But hey, look, I mean, we started doing this podcast, I believe, the year of COVID, or was it the year before?
I think it was the year before.
Was it 2019? Well, I remember how bad 2020 was. With
the DFS
COVID.
podcast. Yeah.
The DFS. Yeah, exactly. Trying to figure out who's going to play every week with COVID. So I guess we're kind of used to it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we have 2 games on Friday night, South Florida and Tulsa.
Over under of 58.
And you know what's interesting here? I mean, both these teams aren't bowl eligible. You think this is Tulsa's last game at home, right? Do they play the seniors? I mean, you got to just start thinking about these angles.
I mean, first off, this slate here is awful. I mean, there's only 2 games, and there's only going to be 1 team bowling out of the 4 teams. So, yeah, you had South Florida at Tulsa with an over-under of 58, and then San Diego State at New Mexico with a very low over-under of 36.5 in a game where the Aztecs are 14.5 point favorites. So you have an implied total for New Mexico about 11 points. You might want to steer clear of that offense, but you're right. It's coming down to the end of the year where maybe they're playing young guys, or maybe they're playing seniors. Who the hell knows?
No, I think they like Tulsa. Take Tulsa, for example. Now, South Florida's got an interim head coach. He might be just trying to get the best results he can get.
Yeah.
But Tulsa, they're not going to a bowl game. I think that's their first time in a couple of years not going to a bowl game. I think he's probably going to honor the seniors. So if there's a 4th-year wide receiver on the depth chart, or on the somewhere, or a 4th senior, a 6-year senior on the defensive line, maybe he gets a start. I just think it could be
a couple different ways of looking at it, though. Like if you aren't making a bowl game, you don't have all that practice time. maybe those seniors, they're going to be gone. Maybe you need to play young guys to get them some experience because they're going to be on your roster next year. Maybe you got to make them happy so they don't transfer out.
True, but you also don't want to burn the eligibility.
You're talking about if like someone's like redshirted, sure. But I'm saying like if you got a young guy who, is on the roster, he's not going to be redshirted and he's just second string or third string. Right. So I don't know. I didn't look that far into it. I'm going to assume the players who've been playing the majority of the season, if they're healthy, they're going to play, because, trying to guess at something like that, it's going to be very hard to do.
All right. Well, I'm waiting for mine to load because I was looking up recent. All right. What'd you do at the quarterback? Did you go with 2 quarterbacks?
I did go 2 quarterbacks, and I went with the only 2 quarterbacks I could imagine anybody rostering. So both of these guys are going to be highly owned, but I will take Jalen Maiden, 8.2K for San Diego State. We mentioned on the Picks podcast, this guy, he's a Mississippi State transfer. He transferred out in 2019 or something, and I guess he's been just sitting on their bench, but he actually has the offense moving since he was given the starting nod a few weeks ago. So going up against New Mexico, yeah, give me the most expensive quarterback, Jalen Maiden.
Oh, nice. I mean, it is going to be cold. I wonder about those California boys out there.
You think Rocky Long's got something for him? I take it you didn't roster him?
I only went 1 quarterback.
Did you go Davis Brin?
He's a true lawn chair. Davis Brin. Davis Brin in the Tulsa USF game.
Well, you can play the music because he was my second guy.
There we go. Davis Brin.
I think that's the only option.
Yeah.
I think the only option is to go both of those quarterbacks that I went with or go one of them and save money and just go with the 1 quarterback lineup.
Yeah. So I loaded up on running back in my super flex. You know who has the worst run defense? Well, the worst run defense in the AAC. The 6th worst run defense in America.
Probably Tulsa.
No, it's South Florida.
Okay. That would have been my second guess.
Tulsa, I don't know where Tulsa's charting. Tulsa's not in the hundreds. Oh, no, they're 123. Actually, okay. So load up on both running backs in this game, which I did.
That's exactly what I did too, right? So you got Deneric Prince at 6.7K. Yeah, last 2 weeks he hasn't done much. Play the music.
Yep.
But he hasn't done much, partially because they've been down early and they've had to just focus on the pass. So he's had some monster games this year, like the 230-plus yard performance against Temple, or he had a nice game at SMU, almost rushing for 100. So I think this is a bounce-back game for Prince at 6.7K. And I had the same guy. You want to talk about him?
We're going to South Florida, and the only thing that's concerning here is I don't know about this team as far as with their interim head coach.
I haven't really watched them in a few weeks.
Yeah, and your life's better for it. But this is one they've only had 1 game with their interim head coach. So, yeah. But Brian Batty, guy is best. I mean, considering Jerry Bohannon, their quarterback's out for the year, they don't have a lot of good players on offense.
Sure.
So
this guy's been over 100 yards 5 games this season. And you mentioned the interim head coach in his first game. Well, that's the most carries he's got all year. He had 26 for 145 against SMU last week. So it sounds to me like the interim coach wants to run the ball, and Brian Batty is by far and away the top dog there. So, yeah, 6.4K. It looks like we share the same running backs. You only had 2?
I actually had 4.
Oh, that's right. Well, first off, you only had 1 quarterback. So who are your other 2 guys?
So you got to look. I see a great opportunity to load up on the running backs. I am taking you to, this is the only stretch a little bit here. I went with Jordan Byrd. I know that they kind of use 30 different running backs at San Diego State, but I just feel like the offense is moving a little bit more. So I think San Diego State will score, but when they score, they're not a passing team. All right. They might be passing better. They're not a passing team. They're a run first team. So I look for them to maybe get a score or two in the end zone, in the red zone. So Jordan Byrd, I understand they have Chance Bell and Armstead, but I think Byrd is their top guy with almost double the amount of carries as the next. So I loaded up with him. And
I will say, though, that offense is becoming a bit more balanced than it has been in the past.
And Hoke was outspoken about him wanting to do that, which I thought was interesting. I think that might hurt them more than.
Yeah, I mean, San Diego State's had a brand of football they've been playing for a while now, and they've had a lot of success playing that brand. So to switch it up, I thought that was curious as well. But they are passing more, and they're having more success through the air, and that's the main reason why I didn't roster Byrd was because they do run a bunch of running backs, even though he's the best one, I think. If I was to roster an Aztec running back, it would be Byrd, but I just steer clear to that whole situation.
Yeah. And then I went with Jordan Ford. This is one that I might switch. I am waiting to see the status of Steven Anderson. I wanted Steven Anderson because he's their touchdown leader on the ground for Tulsa. But he is questionable, and I actually read one thing saying doubtful, but on DraftKings on DFS it's saying questionable. So then I was like, well, I want the second back because they run so many different backs.
Sure. And so if they're Jordan that bad against the run, that makes some sense.
So I went with Jordan Ford at 4,500. I'll be honest, this slate, not a big fan of this slate.
It's tough.
I'm not a big fan of the slate.
Not a lot of options, and some of the teams are pretty shitty teams, so it's tough. But, I have 4 receivers. I think you only have 3, right?
Yeah, so fire away on your top dog.
Top dog, 7.6K, stacking with Davis Brin. That is Tulsa's wide receiver 1, Keelan Stokes.
Yes. You just have to.
Yeah.
You have to.
Again, expect very high ownership of Stokes, but on a slate that is lacking top receivers, I think you have to put him in your lineup.
I agree. Completely agree. And
my next 2 guys, if I can go ahead, are both San Diego State Aztecs. I mean, I'm telling you, the passing game is improving, and if I can lock up probably 2 of their 3 biggest threats, and that is Tyrell Shavers for 5.2K.
You know why I like this angle, right? I have Tyrell Shavers. He was at Mississippi State as well with the quarterback. What's his name?
Maiden.
Yeah. So they both go back a ways.
That's right. And you see his production has spiked once Maiden was pretty much given the reins of that offense. So yeah, and the price point is nice too at 5.2K. But I also went 4.6K. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing the first name right. Mekhi Shaw.
Mekhi Shaw, yeah.
Mekhi Shaw. Well, hey, 14 catches over the last 3 games. He seems to be more their like possession guy. Also caught a touchdown last week against San Jose State. So you got that air game cranking. I know Tulsa probably has the best passing attack on the slate, but second to them would be the Aztecs.
Yeah. Which, so you named, I only have 1 player left because you named 2 of my wideouts.
Oh, did you have both Aztecs? Oh, no, you had Stokes and Shavers. Gotcha.
Yeah, Stokes and Shavers. And my last guy is Juan Carlos Santana. I'm going heavy with the passing attack of the Golden Hurricane. So that's my roster. Do you still have 1 guy or 2 guys?
Just 1 guy. And first off, I do like the play of Juan Carlos Santana. I couldn't fit both expensive Tulsa receivers in there because I spent up at the quarterback position. So this is my punt play of the slate. I went South Florida Bull wide receiver Sean Atkins. I know nothing about this dude, but he had 4 for 55 last week. So maybe that interim coach is a fan of Sean Atkins. I don't know, but he is my punt play, and that rounds out my lineup.
There we go. What's our bourbon here? What's our battle?
Oh, that's a good question, my man. So you had a running back for about 4,500 or so. That other Tulsa running back?
Yes, but I might take him out. I need to know if the other guy's playing, I have the money for him. I just need to know if Anderson's playing or not.
Well, if you keep him in, the one wide receiver who could be in your flex spot, I have is Shaw for San Diego State. It's either do that or we do Juan Carlos Santana versus Maiden. There's not a whole lot of differences, so I think those are the only two options.
Whatever running back I use against
Mekhi Shaw.
Yeah, I think that's the plan.
Let's do it.
All right, and that's our slate for Friday. Saturday. Well, before I get to Saturday, I want to tell you folks out there that the College Football Experience Week 12 DFS show is brought to you by WinBet. WinBet's now live in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Tennessee, and Virginia. I've been everywhere, man, and WinBet is too, all right? From boosted same-game parlays to live in-game odds, WinBet is what you need to win. Sign up today, bet $100, get a $100 free bet at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/winbet. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET to claim your free bet today. All right, we are back. I like this slate. What was your feelings on this slate?
Well, I only went one quarterback. So that's always a little bit of a question mark. You're going to love my roster because it's loaded with ECU Pirates.
We might have the same roster then, buddy.
Yeah. They were just affordable. And I think that game at home against Houston, I think there's going to be a lot of points. So it's certainly one of the games I targeted the most. And that starts with my one quarterback, the captain, the old veteran, Holton Ahlers for 6.2K. And I wasn't in love with the quarterback slate.
I think there's great value on the quarterback slate here.
Yeah, I mean, if you go CJ Stroud, obviously, if you want to pay up, I mean, yeah, he's probably going to crush it. But
I think there's diamonds in the rough.
Yeah, because I think Max Duggan might have a tougher game against Baylor. You got a lot of people with some injury question marks like Malik Cunningham or Jalen Daniels. So for me, I wasn't in love with the quarterback slate, which is why I went with the cheaper one and only one. So I take it you have a second?
Yeah, I have Holton Ahlers too, and I'm tired of the disrespect Patty C's been applying to Holton Ahlers.
About his throwing motion or something. Come on.
Very good college quarterback, in my opinion.
Very good. Yes.
Yeah. My other quarterback, well, I want to bargain shop, and I see a misvalued player going up against a terrible defense. And I also think if you paid attention to college football, news on the off side of things, I would say like off the field. West Virginia fired their athletic director. I think Neil Brown might be fired on Monday.
It's coming.
Yeah, and Will Howard has been a beast. And I want to talk about a blessing in disguise because I think Chris Kleiman had probably promised Adrian Martinez the starting job there.
Yeah,
Adrian Martinez played, and to his credit, he's played good. But when Will Howard came in the game against TCU, whoa, did that offense open up? And I think he had this thing of like, man, Martinez played good. He got us here at 6-1. He kind of had a problem where he was like, if I go to Howard, but Martinez, did get us here. But Martinez got injured.
Is he completely healthy? Is Martinez completely healthy?
No, he's out until the bowl game now, at least. Yeah. Maybe the season. So now Will Howard has keys to the offense. It is his offense now. And ever since they named Colin Klein the offensive coordinator this offseason, because I was the first to talk trash about Will Howard a year ago.
Last year, he was not good. And maybe that's my hesitation, but it makes a lot of sense. I mean, in the 3 games he's played, he's been over 20 fantasy points each time. So if you can get that production again for 6.4K, it does make a lot of sense.
I mean, he's only played in a little bit of action, and he has more passing touchdowns than Martinez. The offense it cranks up when he's in there at quarterback. Yeah. And West Virginia's defense has been terrible this year. Yeah. So I'm going to take a shot on Will Howard. And another thing is K-State's defense is really good. I know West Virginia, benched JT Daniels, and that the other kid came in and played great, but he was a running quarterback. That worked against Oklahoma because Oklahoma has been terrible against the run all year. Adrian Martinez had a fucking career day against Oklahoma running the ball. That doesn't work against K-State. They see it every day in practice.
I love it. And so your two quarterbacks are 6.4 and 6.2K. So, and I have money left over, but who do you like better, Ahlers or Howard? I'm sticking with Ahlers. I'm just curious.
And you have to say Ahlers because Houston just gave up like 80 points to SMU, right?
ECU's at home too.
Yeah, it's the last home game, right? I believe. Oh no, did we get Temple at home, or are we at Temple? I forget.
One thing you might want to look at is a weather forecast for West Virginia. Just because we're getting to that time of the year, and I know there's going to be some bad weather coming through a lot of the Midwest and Northeast.
Yeah, it's snowing on Friday, not Saturday. 36 degrees, but Will Howard can run the ball too, dude.
Yeah,
a year ago, their offense was Will Howard on shotgun draws. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Power rushing attack. So I just think, he'll have opportunity to get some points in this matchup. Who's your second quarterback?
I don't have a second quarterback. Only one, remember? So I got 4 running backs. I have the same approach you took with the Friday night slate. And I got to say, I do love my running backs. And we'll start in the game we were just talking about in Morgantown. I will take Deuce Vaughn for 7.4K. Why not? I mean, come on. We talk about him, if not every week, every other week. He has 4 straight games over 20 fantasy points. Finding the end zone again. Only 5 rushing touchdowns on the year. So I think, Adrian Martinez was vulturing some of those rushing touchdowns. If Martinez is out, and he is out, I think that probably means if there's going to be rushing touchdowns, it's going to come from Deuce Vaughn. So I like to play here.
Especially the problem with Adrian Martinez, and like I said, I think he played good this year. He proved a lot of the haters wrong, right? But the teams knew they weren't going to pass, so they would load the box.
Right.
With Will Howard's passing skills, this offense cranks to another notch, and then that gives more room for Deuce Vaughn to break shit.
I completely agree.
Yep. So I like that play. In the same game, I'll play my least, just because we're talking about this game.
Right.
The running back I spent least on, and really I didn't have a lot of money left over, but Garrett Green is going to get the nod, I believe, for the Mountaineers. I don't know that I'm 100% on that, but I from what I was told, he only completed 54% of his passes, but he ran the hell out of the ball. I think he had 3 rushing touchdowns in that game. I don't know how efficient of a passer he is. So they're going to do a lot of the option read stuff. And CJ Donaldson's out for the year at the running back spot. So Tony Mathis Jr., I think, really will have access to getting the bulk of the carries. And another thing is, what do you have with an inexperienced quarterback? If they are going to pass, the screen game. And I would imagine Tony Mathis would be their security blanket for an inexperienced passing quarterback. So at 4,900, I know K-State's defense is good. This is strictly because there wasn't a lot of money left over. So I took Tony Mathis Jr. at 4,900.
He's your least expensive. You're forgetting somebody that I mentioned when we're doing the Picks podcast Wednesday night.
Oh, I'm sorry. He's not. No, I have that guy.
You have Nakia Watson for 3.8K.
I do.
Okay.
I do.
I was going to say, man, I think you're a sharp DFS player, your roster, and Nakia Watson.
Arizona's run defense, awful. If anything, if Arizona had a decent run defense, they'd probably be like an 8-win team this year because that offense is fire. I actually think that offense could score on almost any defense in America.
Nakia Watson is a Wisconsin transfer. Has been in Pullman for a couple years now. It seems like he is becoming their lead dog. Last 2 games, 16 for 166 and a touchdown against Stanford, and then 20 for 116 and 3 touchdowns against Arizona State last week. And he's only 3.8K playing that Arizona run defense. He is a must roster.
I agree. My most expensive running back. So we've named 2 of my running backs now, Mathis and Nakia Watson. My most expensive running back.
Let's go to Greenville.
I didn't do it.
No?
No.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
But he is a baller. My thing is he got blasted by. Did you see that hit in that Cincinnati game?
Yeah, but apparently I can't find him on any kind of injury report, so I think he's good to go. So
no, he's good to go. I saw it. I follow ECU Twitter accounts, a bunch of them. He's playing, but I mean, he probably will have a gigantic day.
Let's just say the name here. ECU's Keaton Mitchell for 7.1K.
Yes. My problem here is I went with Bijan Robinson.
I like that play. I mean, he had an awful week last week. I do think he's going to bounce back against Kansas. I didn't spend up, though, because I liked less expensive running backs. But it makes a lot of sense. I like it.
Well, Kansas, look, Leipold's doing a great job. He's doing a great job, but the run defense is still not there.
It's soft.
Well, it's improved a ton since he's got there. It's charting at number 92 in the nation right now.
Yeah,
which for a Kansas fan, you're probably like, hell yeah, because you were in the 120s. You were in the 120s just a year ago. I think 126.
But right, still not good. And Bijan should have a big time bounce back game.
Yeah. So then those are my running backs. Those are my running backs right there.
I got one more since I have 4 of them. And 6.8K. It might not be the greatest matchup in the world, TCU at Baylor, but for some reason, Kendre Miller, TCU's running back, has kind of shown no love. I mean, he's always been priced around 6K to 6.8K. This week is his highest, and all he does is rush for 100 yards and a touchdown. He has 13 rushing touchdowns on the year. He has at least 1 rushing touchdown in every game. He has 5 straight games over 100 yards, 7 games on the season, eclipsing the century mark. So for me, it's just like a no-brainer. He's under 7K. I'm going to roster him.
Yeah. I mean, he's been a baller. He's been a baller. I am a little concerned about Dave Aranda though, shutting down that. But TCU is such a complete offense. It's hard to shut down both.
They got dangerous playmakers out wide. Obviously, Duggan is dangerous himself, and then Miller, and they have a couple running backs actually who are pretty solid. So, no wonder why they've had some success this year.
Yeah. For wide receivers here, I think I'll just play this.
Because when you're at East Carolina, you go for it every time. Or you don't coach at East Carolina. You don't come to East Carolina. You don't play at East Carolina with a weak heart. Write it.
I'm writing it, man. I'm writing it because I am stacking the receivers. See, this is CJ Johnson's potential, I believe. I should double check.
You going Johnson and Winstead?
I am.
Wow. Well, I'm with you with Johnson, so play the music there.
And by the way, didn't we have a little battle about that last week?
I think we might have.
He fucking tore it up against
7 for 123 and a touchdown. Pretty good game. He's finally realizing his potential.
He's putting it all together, buddy. Where the hell is my sound drop? What's that?
If you recall, I think his freshman year, he had a monster game against Cincinnati. And I kept waiting for him to duplicate that. And I always thought he had more talent than what he was playing like. Finally, this year, everything seems to be coming together for him.
And he's only a junior. We will have him back next year, but he's been playing with Holton Ahlers since they were in grade school, man.
6.2K makes a lot of sense.
Loaded up. I went with him and Isaiah Winstead, man. I'm going like Houston sucks. All right. Like from a defensive standpoint, they suck. I am very curious. I actually still think there's a shot they might fire Holgerson this offseason.
Yeah, it's possible. But, that game is going to be a shootout. So I think it might make sense to balance your lineup with a Houston Cougar. And if I can go out of sequence, my lowest price receiver is, I believe he's a Texas Tech transfer, if I remember correctly, Keyshawn Carter.
Yeah, he is.
I think so. Well, last 2 weeks, 8 for 136 and a touchdown against SMU, 7 for 102 and a touchdown against USF. Defenses are, rolling coverage over to Tank Carter. No, sorry, Tank Dell. This is Keyshawn Carter. Excuse me, brain lapse. So Keyshawn Carter is really emerging. For only 4K, you're getting a receiver who has crushed it the last 2 weeks. So he's my cheapest receiver. I have one guy left. What are you looking at?
I have one guy left too, and let me just see if there's another guy out there. I thought about Michael Mayer or Mayer, whatever the fuck, Michael Mayer. I could also do McMillan with Arizona, who I probably should. But for some reason, this guy caught my attention. I like to think he's the son of Russ Grimm.
Is that the guy on Kansas?
Luke Grimm. You know, he's their leading receiver. He's their leading receiver receptions wise. And I don't know how they lost last week to Texas Tech. They were averaging 9.2 yards a play, and they lost by double digits, which is almost impossible.
Right.
It's almost impossible. Every play is a first down. You're like, how the fuck does that happen? They had key turnovers there in the red zone. But I just think the guy, Texas's pass defense, Gary Patterson's improved them. They're still not a good pass defense. I'm going to take a shot on Luke Grimm at 5,700. And I have money to do Michael Mayer. You think I should go Mayer? You think I should go Mayer over Grimm?
Mayer's had a couple quiet weeks, but I think he has more potential probably. Especially if depending on who's a quarterback for Kansas. Because if Jalen Daniels plays, they run more.
True, but you know Kansas scored 50-some points against Texas last year.
That's true. You know, I think either play is a solid play. I think I would probably lean Mayer, but you know.
All right, you sold me. Give me Mayer.
Wow, that wasn't a very strong argument.
Well, because the quarterback situation does concern me. Daniels hasn't thrown a pass in 2 months probably. So if he does get the start, then you're sitting there saying, whoa. Yeah, we'll see. I might have to eat crow on this one. But
well, let me talk about somebody better. So and actually just the way we were talking about games, the most expensive receiver I have, actually the most expensive player on my whole lineup I have is my last guy here. I will take you to Marvin Harrison Jr., one of the best receivers. I think Maryland's not going to be able to stop Ohio State whatsoever. Expect the Buckeyes to at least be in the 40s again.
Ohio State averages like 66 points a game against Maryland over the
I had to get somebody from the Ohio State offense, so might as well go Marvin Harrison Jr.
That one makes a lot of sense. I mean, honestly, when you dive into that specifically Ohio State Maryland matchup,
dude, the more I look at my lineup, so finish that thought on the Buckeyes.
I'm just saying Ohio State scores like something about what Maryland does. Even when the one time the game was close, they were both in the 50s. So, I mean, they light up Maryland like a Christmas tree. So, yeah.
And it is prime fade Loxley season right now. But overall, the more I looked at my lineup, the more I'm liking it, even if I only have one quarterback and a cheap one at that. I like it. Let's do it.
I'll be honest. I was thinking about going Cam Ward, but I didn't, or DeLora. But I think Cam Ward playing the questionable Wildcat defense is juicy if people want to zig while we're zagging. All right. Well, look, before we get to Saturday night slate, let me tell you that the college football experience is brought to you by the SGPN World Cup podcast. Yes, we have a SGPN World Cup free roll going on. We're giving away $250 cash and a $250 gift card to the winner. Enter today exclusively on the SGPN app, which is free to download in the App Store or Google Play Store. So go grab that thing today and let it ride. All right. Saturday night. 2 quarterbacks?
Yes, and I leaned heavily into the game that is right down the road from you, and that is the USC at UCLA game, because I do expect a lot of fireworks, a lot of points. It's going to be a shootout.
Yeah, I do expect that game to have a ton. I do expect just like probably in the 50s in that game. Here's what I'm concerned about. Okay, so the DFS slate is wrong, essentially. They have Spencer Sanders out. As of 16 minutes ago, I am seeing the Oklahoman paper saying Spencer Sanders to start versus Oklahoma.
You can roll dice with him? coming back from injury?
No, I mean, honestly, I was concerned about that because if the backup, I'm actually going to take Dylan Gabriel, but
Okay.
but I was concerned about that because I was like, wait, if they have to go with Gundy Jr., Oklahoma's offensive approach might be completely different.
Sure.
Like get up a couple scores and then be conservative.
Okay.
If Spencer Sanders is in, which I know he can exploit the Sooners defense,
Right.
I think it's going to be, we're going to look, I think everyone's thinking USC and UCLA, which I do think is going to be a shootout.
Well, obviously Spencer Sanders, I mean, the dude is a competitor. He wants to finish his career. Basically, he doesn't want to miss his last game against Oklahoma.
Yeah. And I expect that game to be a lot like the UCLA USC game. I think both, that's going to be a shootout. So I'm going 7,600. Dylan Gabriel as my QB here. What are you doing here?
So I was alluding to the USC UCLA. This lineup is completely different than my main slate. I'm gonna go DTR Dorian Thompson Robinson 8.8K, and I'm gonna go Caleb Williams 9K. We got both quarterbacks in that game. I spent up huge at the quarterback position, so I need these guys to come through with big time performances.
I wonder if our battle of bourbon is our quarterback battle here.
Who do you want? Gabriel against DTR, or do you want Gabriel against Caleb Williams?
Against both our QBs, which are way higher priced for you, but I think my guys are going to light it up. Because I went with Hendon Hooker against South Carolina. So I have Gabriel and Hooker, who are much cheaper than, Hooker's not that much cheaper than Robinson and Caleb Williams. But I am curious how this will shake out because you might be better here, but I do think
the question is, I guess the question is, even I might be better, but how much better am I, and how much more money do I spend if it's just incrementally better, or if it's really if they're going to crush it or not? So I don't know. We'll see. But I certainly usually don't spend up that kind of money at the quarterback position. Like I'll go one expensive guy and then one cheaper guy. But I don't know, man. I was just looking at the slate here and pieces were fitting. And I was like, let's push all the chips in to the middle of the table here on this Pac-12 showdown.
And for me, it's like Tennessee needs style points. Unfortunately, this 4-team invitational, which is a total crock of shit. Did you see? I don't know if I quoted this last week on the show, but the committee members' reasoning, it was last week before UCLA had lost. They said, well, we have USC 5 spots ahead of UCLA, even though they have at the time they had the same record. Mm-hmm. And UCLA had a better strength of schedule thus far. USC had a tougher, but his reasoning was Caleb Williams has 28 touchdowns, right? That was his logic on them voting USC ahead of UCLA.
They're going to make up whatever argument they want to have the bigger school in there. So,
I'm just saying, if they're really valuing quarterback play, Hendon Hooker has lit it up this year, and I expect him to continue to light it up Saturday.
Talk about moving goalposts. They're going to bring up something different every time.
That's the dumbest.
Whatever fits their narrative.
Yeah, the dumbest thing I've ever heard of, like quoting. That's like saying, well, Dominique Wilkins averaged 35 points a game. So, the Atlanta Hawks are better than the Chicago Bulls this year.
Right. When Reggie Theus was on the Sacramento Kings, he lit it up. He wasn't better than Michael Jordan, even though he might have averaged more than.
Absolutely ridiculous. Love the Reggie Theus poll. So those are my two quarterbacks. It's going to be interesting. What are you doing running back wise? Did you go with 3?
I do. I have 3, and I'll start with Ole Miss with the freshman Quinshon Judkins. The guy's just a complete animal,
a beast.
Jeez, I don't think he was heavily. Yeah, I mean against Bama, 135, 2 touchdowns. You saw him live go for over 200 against A&M,
and it wasn't even that. It was like the first couple plays. You were just like, this guy's better than everyone on the field. Yeah. You could tell the way he was cutting and stuff. You were like, he's a beast.
I feel sorry for Zach Evans because I think Zach Evans is a hell of a running back. And when he transferred from TCU to Ole Miss, he's probably like, dude, this backfield's mine. All those Ole Miss running backs have graduated or transferred out. And then this freshman, Quinshon Judkins, comes in, and, man, he's going to be playing in the NFL. So, I got him for 7K.
Don't feel too sorry for Zach Evans. I think he got money to go to Ole Miss, so now I'm sure he'll be at USC next year. I'm gonna get. It's funny you mentioned that because I'm on the other side of things. Ole Miss's rush defense has been a problem all year. I know I'm concerned if KJ Jefferson is going to play or not. I thought I read that he is. Is that true?
I think so.
Well, then Rocket Sanders becomes a lot more desirable.
I like Rocket Sanders. He's a hell of a running back too. Yeah. 6,800.
I'm loading up on the Rocket.
Do you have any money left over? Because that could be. No. I mean, that could be a nice. Huh?
I don't.
None. Okay. Because I mean, Judkins is only $200 more expensive. But hey, if you don't have it, you don't have it.
Want to have a little battle?
Judkins. I mean, they play in the same game. They're only $200 apart. It makes a lot of sense.
Let's do it. That's our battle. That's our battle.
That's a fun battle there because I'm a big Rocket Sanders fan too. I've rostered him a bunch of season as well, but I do like Judkins a little bit better. Anyways, moving on. Going back to my game in the Rose Bowl. We know USC's main running back Dye is out, so you're gonna get the backup here, who is going to be thrust in as their RB1, their starter, Austin Jones, 5.4K. Play the music.
Stanford transfer. What a filthy. Look, they got their backfield from Oregon and Stanford. How ridiculous. I mean, Stanford, but I'm with you. I roster them too against UCLA's questionable defense. Yeah, you got it. You got that price.
I think you have to. Curious if you have my last guy, because I was a little bit critical of you last week rostering him. Because I said I wanted nothing to do with the Colorado Buffaloes. So Alex Fontenot ran for over 100 yards and a touchdown last week at USC. And they're playing Washington. They don't have a very good run defense. Give me Colorado Buffalo, Alex Fontenot for 4.4K. Obviously, I needed a cheap guy because I spent up a quarterback.
You know what? You might have just convinced me. I was going to go with John Emery Jr. for $100 more as LSU takes on UAB.
There's so many running backs at LSU.
I think you convinced me. Give me.
Well, you convinced me to roster him from the get-go, so I'm returning the favor.
Yeah, I'm going Alex.
All right,
let's go, Alex Fontenot. I like to think his dad is Herman Fontenot, the former Cleveland Browns running back.
There we go.
So at wide receiver, top price wide receiver. What do you do?
I got 3. Back to the Rose Bowl. I'm going to stack him up with DTR. The Duke transfer, Jake Bobo, 6.7K. You son of a bitch.
I won pieces of this game too, but my second highest price. He's my highest price receiver. My second highest price receiver. I'm going with Keyshawn Boutte.
Okay.
Look, UAB's run defense is actually decent. It's their pass defense that I think is susceptible to lose this game to LSU. Boutte is this guy's like a 5-star. He's got, I don't know that UAB has an answer to guarding him, so could have a big day. Give me Keyshawn Boutte, 5,600. What are you doing here?
While we're in the same game, let me give me my cheapest receiver, who's actually the tight end for LSU. He's a freshman tight end, Mason Taylor. He's only 3.4K. Is it really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's the real son of Jason Taylor.
The guy's good too. I mean, obviously, I don't know what kind of production. He only has 200 yards on the year, 2 touchdowns, but he's going to be a good tight end for LSU. He's got potential. Maybe I get lucky and he gets a touchdown here.
There you go. All right, my final guy on the roster. You don't change horses midstream, Nick. Jalen Polk. Colorado's pass defense is terrible.
Yeah.
Jalen Polk just had 100 yards. He's undervalued a little bit, in my opinion. He had 100 yards in a
He's been boomer bust this year. He's been boomer bust big time because he is basically the third option for Washington.
Well, it wasn't last week. So give me Jalen Polk at 5,200 for the Washington Huskies. And that's my roster. Who's your last guy?
Well, that's funny because my last receiver is exactly 5,200 also. I want to go, especially if KJ Jefferson is playing, I'm going to take Arkansas's Matt Landers, who, last week he had 2 for 69 and a touchdown, but they had that Hornsby fella most of the game. The 2 games prior to that with Jefferson under center, he had 6 for 119 and 4 for 115. Big play threat, Matt Landers.
Toledo transfer. You got, I got, did you put Winstead on your team too? No, you didn't, right?
No.
Okay. Thought you're going to go with the Toledo Twisters. Anyway, that's my roster. We have our battle, right?
If you want a second battle, Polk versus Landers, I'd be more than willing.
Let's go, baby.
Same price. Might as well.
Let's go. We got bourbons everywhere.
Fill
them up.
Let's do it.
The holidays, folks. Fill them up. Folks, subscribe to the College Football Experience. And once again, we tweet this out at TCE on SGPN. NC Nick's on Twitter at NC__NICK. I'm on Twitter at TheColbyD. We tweet this out. We invite you to come play for just a couple bucks. We're not trying to take your money. Just for trash talking, right? Something to talk about. But also we do it for college basketball. And if you maybe you haven't made the transition yet, but subscribe to the College Basketball Experience every single night. And I'm there, and Ryan McIntyre, aka Moneyline Mac, is there. NC Nick, Patty C will be there shortly, talking college hoops. So check that out as well, and also subscribe to the Sports Gambling Podcast. And right now we just have so much sports going on; it's really unbelievable. I mean, you got just so many. I mean, whether it's the World Cup, which kicks off on Sunday morning, subscribe to the Soccer Gambling Podcast, subscribe to the World Cup Gambling Podcast, subscribe to MLS Gambling Podcast. They're all covering it. All right. Then you have the NFL Gambling Podcast because the NFL continues to, go on through their season. Then you have the NBA Gambling Podcast, as that season just tipped off over a month ago. NHL Gambling Podcast. The Grey Cup is this weekend in the CFL. Subscribe to the CFL Gambling Podcast. Just a slew of sporting events. Obviously, college basketball, they got these tournaments going on. At 2 a.m. here in L.A., I was watching a tournament in Dublin, Ireland last night, Nick. So, and this is tonight is 3 a.m. So, I mean,
awesome.
Yeah. And then you got the Maui.
The clock.
You got the Maui Invitational tipping off. You got, in a few weeks, we got a tournament in London. You got some in the Bahamas. This is just 24
I love daytime
hours.
sports.
Yeah, 24-hour sports going on.
I'm the biggest proponent for daytime sports. So I can, when I'm working from home in my home office, have it up on the TV, firing off some parlays, playing some daytime DFS. It's the best.
Yeah, I think you went to the governor's the governor's campaign when he was doing a Q&A, and you said, what's your opinion on daytime sports, Governor? Right?
You want my vote? You better answer your pro.
Folks, subscribe to the College Football Experience as the season rolls on. Also, FCS college football slate, unbelievable this week. You might think the FBS is a little weaker because Austin Peay is playing Alabama or something, or UMass is playing Texas A&M in the JFK Bowl. But FCS, man, there's once again, to our argument, NC Nick, of why you should have more teams in. Yep. You have the playoffs don't even start yet in the FCS, but you could make a point that there's 30 games this weekend that are playoff games because there's spots on the line, and the winner will get in and the loser will not. It's absolutely fantastic. Check out that FCS.
And not only but more spots, but automatic qualifiers the winner of each conference, because then the conference championship game is another round of playoffs.
Exactly. The Big South right now, you have North Carolina A&T and Gardner-Webb, both in your state of North Carolina. The winner is going to the playoffs. The loser will not get an outright bid. It is an awesome game to watch this Saturday. Get some eyes on it. Check out the FCS podcast I dropped on the College Football Experience. All right, folks, this is the College Football Experience. Week 12 DFS slate. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.
Thank you. Well, this is a great way to get started. And I haven't even won all my games yet. It's a great night to be a Tiger. I'm here with my family.
What the fuck did I do wrong, Tom? Our football team ranked in the top 10 for the last 8 years. They've got a linebacker, a tailback, an offensive tackle, 2 safeties, and a quarterback. All recruited by players in the program.